Not game.
Not what? Hey, what's going on? All right. Coaching hours today. I got a co-coach with me. Say hi, Nick. Say hi. Say hi. He was a little chatterbox. Now he's going to be quiet. Okay. So I kind of went round and round about what to talk about today. If it should be more of like a mental, like mindset type deal, or if it should be something that's maybe a little bit more specific to the like technical training and stuff. But I got some stuff I'm working on for like some technical training. And I think I'm going to get into that in the future. So I typically kind of cover both when I start rambling. So it'll probably be a little bit of both, but primarily what I want to discuss today or talk about, and I don't have any real like bullet points on this, so who knows how long it'll be, is the idea of internal versus external locus of control, right? Well, I take a bottle cap out of the little kid's mouth. So that is a psychological term, meaning internal locus of control is where I control what's going on, right? That I am in charge and I have power over my actions, right? My actions. And that then dictates my outcomes. Okay. So the opposite being external locus of control. And with that comes the fact that other people, other things, other factors have pressure on me. They create impact on me, and that dictates my outcomes, not me, right? But other people, other things, other circumstances. Think about it like on the job, right? So when we get called to, most people, they are operating in what? Like an internal locus of control or an external locus of control? External locus of control. They're calling because they are victims. Now, not to say there are no real victims by any means, but think about it from just how they're operating. Someone did something to them. Not to say, again, like you can't be a victim. Anybody can be a victim. But if you start really looking into like, victimology and stuff like that, nothing happens in a vacuum, right? So what that means is then that, like, not to victim shame by any means, but if you were the victim of a theft, your car got broken into, something happened to you, right? You had a role in that, right? It's not your fault that somebody chose to steal from your car, but you had a role in parking the car where you left it. And maybe you left the doors unlocked, right? Still not your fault you got stolen from, but you played a role in that, okay? So you can look at that from two different angles. You can say, oh, woe is me. Someone did something to me bad, and now I don't have any insurance on my car, and I can't get my stuff replaced, and now I can't get to work, and now my life is terrible, right? Or you can say, man, I shouldn't have parked that car there, or I should have locked the doors, or I should have come back sooner and not left it there all night, right? That's taking ownership of what your role was. Not to say that it was your fault that some asshole stole from you, but you get the point, okay? So two different ways you can look at the world, right? I'm in control, or the world is in control. Now, some of that, you can go a little bit further and say, well, stuff like God's in control, but then you can make the argument, and this is very like, philosophical if you start getting into stuff like this, but say, well, if you believe in God, then you believe in free will, and then it comes back to internal locus of control. So it gets very easy in today's society to go into an external locus of control, even as cops, even as the authority figures. It's like, I've been getting into this book called The Parasitic Mind. It talks about the victimhood Olympics, right? So everybody wants to be the bigger victim, and that's seemingly what society really like clings to. It's like, oh, you're the biggest victim on the planet. So what does that entail? That entails like, oh man, like as cops, we've been treated like crap. Well, we're victims too. It's like we can't fall into that no matter what, right? And this is where it kind of shifts into the heroic mindset, right? So the world hates you, right? You're a big mean police, especially if you're a male police, then you're a bigger, meaner police. So everybody hates you. Everybody hates what you stand for. Everybody hates everything about you. Okay. You know what? Everything is so polar right now. It's almost like you just have to say, yeah, okay, that's fine. You have a right to hate me, and that's okay. And I accept that, and I accept your hatred, and it's all good. So now you take the stance and say, yeah, okay, fine. You want to throw that at me. I'm going to stand here, and it is going to unaffect me, right? It is going to be totally fine with me. Now let's shift this a little bit, and this might make no sense. It might make all kinds of sense. So stay with me. You take that stance and that view and you own that, right? And then let's shift it into something that everybody loves. And this is through hundreds of millions of dollars spent at the box offices over the last decade, the Marvel universe and the DC universe to a lesser extent, but comic books, comic book movies, Marvel specifically. And what do people love? They love the stories of Marvel superheroes. And again, DC to a lesser extent. But now let's think about this. So let's take Spider-Man, for example. What happens during Spider-Man? Every reboot, every series, every show, what happens in the middle, right? What happens in the middle? Everybody thinks Spider-Man is the asshole. They think he is the bad guy. They think he is not the hero that he is, and they hate him for it. They hate him. They can't stand it. Okay, they want him to go away. They want to send him to jail. They want him to die. The bad guys are trying to kill him. The society hates him. Nobody understands him. All he's trying to do is help. He doesn't even want this role. He doesn't even want to be a leader or a hero, but he's thrust into it because of his power and his responsibility and all that kind of stuff. And everybody hates him. Okay, so as much as it's nice to get the recognition and the pats on the back, you ain't gonna get it. Okay, you ain't gonna get it, and all you got to do is own that shit. Is that okay? It's fine. That will give you the power and control in times when it feels like there are none, right? So it takes that external locus of control where you feel like everything is against you and all these people are being so mean to you, and then it shifts it and say, no, it's like, this is my choice to stay here, and I'm going to own my role in this, my responsibility, and it's going to keep you internally focused, internal locus of control, and that's going to give you everything that you need to get through whatever it is you need to get through, right? So let's shift this into a training standpoint. It also helps you with your training. It will help you knowing that I have the control to understand my physiology, to understand my needs, to understand what the training is, what the focus is, what I need to do from a nutritional standpoint, from a biological standpoint, from a training standpoint, to create the changes necessary for me to elicit the changes that I want. Okay, so conversely, external locus of control, oh, I just can't do it. It's too hard. My schedule this, my body type that, you know, my kid's schedule, my diet, it's just not feasible. I can't, whatever, fill in the blank with the bullshit excuse. That's an external locus of control. That's you saying that I can't do it because of external factors, right? Not versus I can do it because I know I'm going to do it. Okay. And these are the reasons why I'm going to do it. So, and it's more than just like positive versus a negative mindset. And in case you were wondering, there is a slew of water all over the floor now that Nick is now playing in. But it's more than just that. It's not positivity versus negativity or pessimistic versus optimistic. It's not that. It's more than that. It's literally accepting that, you know, like the Invictus poem, like I am the captain of my fate type deal. So, and again, that goes into everything. And then too, on the job, that keeps it in almost on the offense to an extent, right? You take that internal locus of control to every run you go to, right? So that says, hey, I am in charge of this run. What happens to me is my doing. right? So I'm responsible for me. I'm responsible for the people on that run, and I'm going to go and I'm going to take it to whatever I need to take it to from a safety standpoint and an investigative standpoint to make sure that you get the job done the way you need to, and that other individuals are not impacting the outcome. Now, they still will have a role to play in that, but it won't be that you are a passive person in this context. You know, you are the one affecting the change. Jocko Willing talks about this concept in the idea of default aggressive. This is what he's talking about when he's saying default aggressive. So the term default aggressive for Jocko really is the same as saying it's an internal locus of control. It's an extreme internal locus of control, right? Extreme ownership, extreme, right? So that's his thing. But it is very, very similar to that, right? So to kind of, again, shift into a different little training standpoint, you can even take that through, you know, combining this internal locus of control, saying I'm in control of things, and then saying, you know, what training is going to go where and when, because I understand the dynamics of my physiology, my schedule, what I want to get out of things, and etc. So from a periodization standpoint, this is kind of the technical, not technical stuff I wanted to kind of talk about, is your year has to have seasons around it, right? And this is going to keep you feeling in control and keep that internal locus of control if you understand how periodization works. And basically, you can't do anything too long, right? We as human beings are designed to change and adapt, right? That's why training works, is because it's changes and adaptations to stress. Now, if you provide the same stress all year round, it's going to have a negative effect, right? You're not going to be able to keep up with it. The adaptations won't be the same. The stress responses won't be the same. It'll be too much for the adaptations that you want to get and the changes that you want to get. It just won't work well. And then it's going to shift you into frustration, and that takes you out of that internal locus of control, right? So having the idea that everything's going to change every 2 to 3 months, not everything necessarily, but focuses change. You can't do, you know, maximal strength work all year round, all the time. There has to be some phases of building and then taking your foot off the gas for a little bit, and then restructuring and then pushing and then restructuring and then pushing. If you push too hard without enough structure, then it falls apart, right? Think about a car with a bad frame. You know, like if the chassis is shitty and you're trying to push it to 100, the thing's going to fall apart, right? You're the same way. Your life is the same way. Your body is actually the same way. If your structure isn't robust enough to handle the training, then it's going to break down and you're going to be frustrated, and it's going to, again, take you out of that internal locus of control into external locus of control. And then that is no good. In case you're wondering, Nick really likes to screw with this heart rate monitor that doesn't work anyway. So anyway, all right. So periodization examples that you can do throughout the year are going to be things like you know, 1 rep maximal strength, right? So you can always work 1 rep maximal strength, but like in what way are you going to do it? Because, you know, I work strength all year round, but it doesn't always look the same. Sometimes it's like a powerlifting phase. Sometimes it's a little bit more Olympic lifting. Sometimes it's 3 or 5 rep maxes versus 1 and 2 rep maxes. And then, you know, sometimes it's multiple throughout the week. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I only do it once in a while. And so anyway, strength work it's varied. There are different ways to do it. You know, every 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, rotating how you're doing that strength. And then hypertrophy, right? So muscular growth, that structural growth, right? That's the structure that I was talking about. You know, you've got to have a phase or a part of the year that you really focus on that a ton. You know, men, women, doesn't matter if you're big, if you're small, if you're interested in strength, if you're not, you need to focus on some hypertrophy, some structure building, because if you're not, then you are just setting the stage up to not have enough structure to handle the volume that you want to push, right? So that's another one. Being able to ebb and flow with conditioning. Conditioning is not as much of a long-term thing, because that can build and fade rather quickly, all things considered. So if you don't have a huge like work capacity now, like a CrossFit engine, you know, or something to that effect, you can build that up quicker than you can build up maximal strength. Building strength takes a lifetime. But the anaerobic component of, you know, like especially like CrossFit training, we're talking about that kind of stuff, you can rev that pretty quick and get back up to speed. Now, what we talked about last week with the gear system, nasal breathing, base or aerobic base, building your aerobic base. Now that helps a ton. And that also over a lifetime will prove to be very, very worthwhile, just like a base of strength will prove to be very, very worthwhile. So basically just making sure that you understand that you can't go a million miles an hour training like CrossFit style stuff all the time. You can't go hard in the paint with 1 rep maxes every single day. You'll break, right? 5 rep, one, you know, I've done programs where we did weeks of 5 rep maxes every day, and then 3 rep maxes the next week, and then 1 rep maxes or 2 rep maxes the following week. And then we would just cycle. And I thought it was really cool until all of a sudden it wasn't cool anymore, because I couldn't freaking move because my hamstrings were so jacked and my ankles didn't work and my glutes were just destroyed. So it just trashes you. So yeah. And then, you know, everything goes in waves and cycles. And if you understand what you want to get out of things and when you want to get it, then you can reverse engineer it. And again, that's where the group comes in. You know, oh, and then there's, you know, lastly, the idea of having like phases of the year where you know, hypertrophy sometimes can go with either gaining or losing weight. Because you can build structure and muscular size, and then you can also lose weight, or you can also gain weight. So knowing that is got to be part of it too, where your weight's going to fluctuate and you can't stay super lean, and you shouldn't stay super lean all year round. That, you know, there's no healthy way to underfeed or overfeed for an extended period of time for organisms in general. So that said, like we've got a program coming up where we're going to actually work on reducing body fat, recompositioning, and that's going to be, you know, we used to call it our 30-day shred. Name's still in the works right now, but we're getting to that point of the year where another couple of weeks and we're going to start getting into that phase. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and just message me and let me know you're interested, and I'll start getting the details to you. So all right, well, that's all I got. And remember, keep an internal locus of control. And then I'm going to clean up a mess and probably change a diaper. So say bye, Nick. Bye.